It's the SDG podcast. We're here at the Podcasters. Say hello.
Hello, I'm Peter Lawrence.
Hey, fellas, I'm Chad Jetner. I just want to say really quick, Peter waved before he said, so if you hear a pause, it's because Peter's waving at the camera.
And I'm Kyle Bacher, and today we're talking about brain tricks. Things you can do to trick yourself, to trick your brain, or ways that your brain tricks you. All right.
Yeah.
So set up this topic for us, Chad.
Well, so the classic one is that I used to use that used to be effective until you adapt to it is to set your alarm clock to a different time, right? So that when you wake up half groggy, not sure of where you are or what's going on, right? Like we all have a sip or two once in a while. You wake up, you're not sure where you are or what time it is. You look at your alarm clock and it says, it's 8 o'clock, right? And you think, oh my gosh, your body just wakes up and all of a sudden you got to go. You got to go. But you tricked yourself because last week you set your alarm clock to an hour ahead of time or 2 hours ahead of time, whatever it takes you to get moving, right? Those kind of brain tricks. That's what I want to talk about is what other tricks do you have to keep yourself, like to trick your brain into influencing behavior within yourself.
So hack your environment.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I still do that. So my wife, her alarm clock is still not intentionally. It's just a really bad clock. It's it's a Casio. Sorry if we have sponsorship deals. We just lost Casio. But her Casio just loses. Like it must lose like a second a week, right? So
that's all.
Well, yeah, but like now we've had it since the first Bush administration. So it is so far like it's like 7 minutes off right now, right?
Right.
So I'll shoot upstairs really quick. I'll come down and I'll look at her, I'll stop through the bedroom and I'll be like, oh shoot, I got a meeting right now. I got to hurry. And yeah, it actually is still relatively effective.
I didn't set my alarm differently. I set the clock in my kitchen to be 20 minutes fast. And this is when I had to get out of the house because I always kind of time things with just enough time to get somewhere.
Right. Exact amount of time, right?
Yeah. I'm like, it'll take me 20 minutes. So I'm going to leave 21 minutes before I need to be there, figuring that it takes me a minute to pull out of my driveway and get up to speed. And then I'm walking through the door like 5 minutes late. So that happened enough. I'm like, well, I always look at that clock in my kitchen while I'm getting ready. So I'm just going to set that one ahead. And for some reason you forget you did it. And then you get in your car and you're like, oh, wow, I got plenty of time to get there because the car clock is right. So I found that to be helpful.
Clocks are a funny thing. They definitely need to be set differently. Chad, talking about your slow clock, we just got rid of a slow clock because it was so slow. It was upsetting, right? And we've replaced it with a fast clock, which now is getting ahead of time. So it's better, but I don't know.
The whole idea of time, I mean, especially these days, is so different anyway. I don't have to play too many tricks on my brain, right? Because I don't have to factor in a commute or much of anything, really.
Right.
I think like waking up early and on time, like just the act of waking up. I mean, I hope that I'm not speaking out of school here, but we're not kids anymore. We don't have to, a lot of us probably aren't out till 1, 2 a.m. doing whatever. I wake up at the exact same time, but I still like seeing on my wife's nightstand the clock that says, oh, it's 7 minutes, in the future. And
right.
Still getting me going quicker.
You're 7 minutes late. Get going.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one way of not really tricking your brain, but optimizing your brain is really about having a consistent sleep schedule. And it's not as much about when you actually get to sleep. It's about when you wake up. So you want to wake up at the same time every morning, no matter when you got to sleep. And that will put you on a more of a consistent sleep schedule.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've heard the other end where if you go to bed early or at a particular time, eventually you will get to that point where you can get up at a certain time. But that
Yeah,
it's
I
not.
think, you don't want to just say I can stay up as late as I want,
No,
but it's, um,
I've never said that.
I think you have a lot better control over getting out of bed than you do forcing yourself to fall asleep.
True.
Like if you might toss and turn for 2 hours. I mean, sometimes you just can't get to sleep. Your brain is racing and worrying or whatever happens, whatever's distracting you, or you just have too much energy. Um, but you can always set the alarm and just bite your tongue or whatever you got to do to muscle yourself out of bed. Yeah, I get up some mornings just yelling, no. Yeah, just like when I worked for one of my clients, I had between a 30-minute to an hour commute.
Those
And
are the
you
fun
got to
ones.
get up and make yourself presentable. Hygiene is important when working closely to others, more important than it is now. But sometimes you just got to get up, or that 7 a.m. meeting.
Wait, how many 7 a.m. meetings are you in, Kyle?
None now,
Yeah.
by design. Yeah.
But your client would call them and you
Now, if
got no
someone
choice.
schedules a 7 a.m. meeting with me, I'm going to go to your house. Yeah. I'm going to change your mind.
That would be, yeah. And speaking of hygiene, don't take care of that. Go to their house. Like morning Kyle. Yeah, that would be
just in my full glory.
I'm here for the meeting.
Yeah.
reverse brain hack. That'll learn them.
I just just don't like to get out of bed. I just don't like to get up. So it's always, no matter what time it is, whether it's 8:55 or it's 6 a.m., it's usually some kind of just rage moment where I'm just like, oh man,
The day
'cause
started again
I
without
love
me.
that. I love that morning sleep when you kind of have that half dreamy, that you finally got totally comfortable.
It's a morning nap. Yeah, you go to bed, you sleep all
first
night,
nap
and
of the
you wake
day.
up. Yeah, first nap. First nap is the best nap because, and especially when it's winter, when it's cold out, when you're just going to be uncomfortable when you get out of bed. Like summertime,
Right.
you wake up, it's bright out, birds are singing, birds are chirping. It's easier to get out of bed and attack that kind of day. But winter, when everything around you is dead and cold.
See, that's the difference, Chad. When you get up and you hear birds chirping, you attack the day. When I get up and I hear birds chirping, I attack the birds.
Attack the bird.
Here's another thing I've noticed more and more of as we are all working from home. This isn't a brain hack that I wanted to have happen, but I actually cringe a little bit now every time I hear, not from like the little, so when you get a message on Slack, you get the little the little Slack message, and then when you get a message on Teams, you get the Teams message, the little ding.
I only get audible things from text messages to my phone. And then it's vibrate.
Well, when I'm at my work on my work computer working for a client, and I hear the Teams little, the little whatever.
Yep.
The chime.
The chime. Yeah, thank you. The chime. I'm like, it actually has this flight or flight response within me now, because I'm like, that's attention.
Yeah, it's like someone injecting you with a chemical. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, we use Slack for SDG, right? Hope I'm not giving away any secrets here. And then we use, I have my client uses Teams. for me, if I hear a Slack, the whatever that is, right? The Slack message, that's usually a fun response in my head. I'm like, oh, something cool is happening over there, because we talk about fun stuff with the SDG on all of our SDG channels. That's all
No
great.
demands, right?
Yeah, not really, and none of the no demands. And if there are demands, right? Like they all know, hey, they're at a client, blah blah blah. They'll get to us when you can. But if I hear one from Teams right now in my head, that's like I got somebody needs my attention right now, and I've got to focus and whatever, or it's one of my SDG coworkers at the same client and they're just being goofy, and I'm like, thank God. But like, there's a sense of relief when I see it's somebody that I'm, that I don't have to be. I'm going to say this wrong, and I'm going to get in trouble for it, but I don't necessarily have to have a professional relationship with. It is a coworker from SDG at the client. I don't have to be. There doesn't have to be a facade of Chad. Okay, I can just be Chad, right? Like, they know it's a known quantity of Chad with you guys, whereas with the client, you got to be,
Yeah.
Little
You're on stage
Chad light.
when you're on stage when you're with a client. It's like if you're waiting tables, bartending. It's you're working. It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel like you can get away with more and be more informal. Yeah. And some clients, you can get to that same informal relationship. You get to know them, and it's different. For some reason, starting out, it's a little bit stiffer because you really don't really know the people yet and how professional they are with each other.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. Like, I went from zero to relatively informal with this client fairly quickly, and I think that's probably, I mean,
yeah, I've seen the complaints.
That's just, yeah. I actually didn't. I'm laughing because I don't know. But like, I could totally see other places not being as like these guys are laid back. I am like, every once in a while, like, somebody's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I'm literally having the time of my life. Like, they are. It's an interesting problem, great people, everything. I could imagine in some world not having fun at a client, right? Like, I've heard those exist.
Sure.
I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. I don't have firsthand experience yet.
Well, things don't always go perfectly, right? So if you're having a problem with one of your coworkers, not in this case, but in other cases where problems arise and you have to kind of solve them, you tend to ramp up the professionality a little bit to kind of, I'm going to talk strictly professional, so I don't say any offhand relaxed comment that somebody might take
out of context.
Well,
right.
If you're too informal and you inject too many anecdotes and joking around and stuff like that, it becomes kind of disrespectful of people's time. And you're getting paid to be there, you're getting paid to do a job. You got to kind of keep things on track. And I'm the worst one for that. I mean, I can derail a meeting like nobody's business.
Yeah, I feel like we've actually come to almost a custom of, like, the first 2 minutes of any meeting is, nonsense, and then 58 minutes of serious work.
Yeah, you need to reestablish kind of that connection with people.
Yeah.
So that first 2 minutes of socialization is important. It's not time wasting. It's valuable.
Right. Yeah. And if you don't get those 2 minutes, if you start professional and stay for that whole 60 minutes, you never really feel like, oh, this team is gelling, right? Part of the team gelling aspect of things is people getting comfortable with each other and letting their hair down a little bit, right?
There's a nonverbal networking that happens where you have to make a network connection. It's through eye contact, body language, it's through exchange of information. And then you feel connected to those people. And so you're not, and what that does is it gets rid of kind of a low level uncomfortableness we have with each other if we don't have that connection. There's some
think,
kind of awkwardness that can happen, and it's just not the same. And the better you get to know people, the easier it is to have that handshake, and to feel that kind of affinity with the group.
I think right now, so for my client laptop, the laptop is off to the side. So anytime I'm in a meeting, like I'm a cameras on kind of guy, right? Like this is part of the show. You're getting you
get the outfit and the performance
you
both
get the
at the same
performance,
time.
you get the outfit, the whole look, the whole feel, the whole 9 yards, right? You're paying, you bought a ticket, you're going to the show. That's
Right.
my
The whole ball of
philosophy.
wax, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole
But
shooting match, lock,
there you
stock,
go.
and barrel.
All right, one more metaphor, Kyle. Come on, let's go.
I got nothing else.
Ah, geez.
The pressure.
All right. But the eye contact. So like they always get a side view, you know, of me. Like I'm looking straight ahead. The thing's over here. They're getting like a 35-degree angle of Chad, which is unfair, right? You should get the full Chad, but it actually feels a little awkward now when I have something up on that screen and I'm in a meeting and I'm looking right at the laptop with the camera at the top there. That actually feels somebody made a comment the other day. I'm like, oh, I always see the side of you, right? Like I never actually see you straight on. It's a little weird. Like, well, what are you saying? Like, what is this me?
I will say this: I've intentionally tried to get the Teams meeting sort of front and center, right?
Yeah.
If I'm talking to somebody, even if there's a document right below it, at least I get a little bit of. I mean, you're gonna see me not look at you, right? Humans can tell that you're reading a document or looking at the internet or whatever, right? But
it's hard to train yourself to look at the camera when you're talking to people.
Super hard.
And to emote and talk through the camera.
Yep.
Because I'm not seeing anything you're doing right now. I'm just seeing a little circle with some lights.
Right.
And you don't get that feedback. So you don't do it.
Right.
I've got all the materials to build it's basically a box that you hang on your monitor that's got a two-way mirror, and you mount the camera under, like on the bottom facing up. And basically you see through the two-way mirror and you can see the screen, but the camera is getting your reflection off the other side of the mirror. And so it looks like you're making eye contact when you're actually just looking at the screen.
It sounds complicated, but
I mean, have all the materials. I just have to build it. And I just haven't had the time or energy or effort or desire. But I thought like I'd give that, I build two of them and I give the other one to somebody and I just test it out to see what difference it made. Yeah. So maybe I'll have to pick up that project again, because that eye contact is really the missing piece with this online stuff.
But yeah, but even the side Chad or the top down Kyle or whatever, you can tell that you're paying attention, right? Whereas if you don't have your camera on, you could be, I'm over across the room doing jumping jacks. You can't.
Well, that's how you by showing you're paying attention, you're actively not pissing people off.
Right.
But if you're doing this, then it's people that are on the meeting trying to engage with you are getting upset. It is affecting them. It is affecting their happiness in that moment. And don't think it's not. So sometimes you have to, like what I do, this is back to our brain tricks, is I try to understand the person and their role. So is this person somebody that needs to pay attention to communication that's coming at them? So we have one individual that's really kind of the command center, the hub of the command center for our operations team. And when I meet with him, he's going to be checking Slack. He's going to be, because he has to respond to people. And some of that stuff is like, kind of time critical.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't bother me now. Like, and I don't give other people that same leeway. Like, we're meeting, we're in it. I carved out this half hour for you, and you carved out that half hour for me.
Right.
Let's make the most of it. But then if there's typing is the worst. When you hear that person typing, to me, that's like, yeah, I lost them. They're not here.
Maybe they're
have you ever
taking
found
notes.
have you ever found during like a one-on-one meeting that neither of you are talking or paying attention?
No,
Like all of a sudden there's a few minutes that went by that you're both distracted doing that.
I don't have that skill. My one superpower is being able to focus on a TV to the exclusion of everything else around me.
Yeah, same.
Be
I
it a
can't.
TV show or a meeting or whatever.
Yeah,
I can't not if I'm not looking at the thing, if I'm not holding my baseball, if I'm not doing whatever, I'm not retaining anything, right?
Right.
And for whatever, depending on your role, right? Like I'm a solution architect at my current gig. I do have to listen to everything, right? Like all the little details seeping in. They might not be the most exciting pieces of information I'm going to hear ever, but
Right.
it is all relevant. So I have to, and I said this last week, I have to hold a baseball or toss it around or do something to make sure that my fingers and hands stay away from my phone. I don't want to, if I touch my phone, all of a sudden I'm 3 levels into Candy Crush. There goes, and if I'm on my laptop, I'm checking the value of Dogecoin. And, it's just, I have to hold something to keep me away
Right.
from that stuff. That's
so that helps you
That's a nice
maintain
brain hack.
interest.
Yeah.
What if you're just what if the person is saying stuff, or there's during the meeting it's stuff that you have zero interest in? How do
I
you
shouldn't.
focus on that?
I should not be in the meeting. I don't know. Like, so for me, at this point, at this stage, right? Like, that happens, right? That happens. But I have
Yep.
to listen to all of it to know that it doesn't apply to me. So, yeah, I might be in a thing and they're talking about a domain that has absolutely zero overlap with what I'm doing.
Right.
But as a consultant, right, if I've got a client talking, even if it's a business unit that I don't have to directly impact, right, or I don't have any control over, I still want to know what the heck they're doing over there, because who knows?
So your
Maybe that's something.
curiosity gives you the interest to stick with it and not drift. And
Yep, curiosity, and also being a consultant, thinking, okay, maybe they're going to talk about a problem that doesn't overlap with what I'm trying to solve for them. But gosh darn it, if we don't know somebody else at SDG that might be a good fit to help them solve their issues. So
Right.
in my role right now at these places, I kind of view myself as listen to everything, absorb everything.
yeah, I think that's valuable.
The one thing that I've found though, at the end of the day, and I chat with my buddy Greg Steer about this all the time, another STG guy, he's out at the same client. Him and I will be like prior to now, I have not been so mentally exhausted at the end of a day, because I'm doing exactly that. I'm holding my baseball. I'm paying attention to everybody. I'm pulling in all of these little chats, right? That's another thing that, I'm happy to do them. Every little chat is a unique butterfly. Happy to see it, happy to participate in it. But I know if somebody needs a little chat, that's at least an hour. That's at least a half hour, right? Like that,
Yeah.
we're going to be chatting, figuring out whatever problem. And so I desperately need these little mind tricks to, one, remember all the information that's being thrown at me so that I can regurgitate it in a meaningful way and not sound like an absolute idiot. And two, be able to identify the bits that are important. And the other thing that I found myself doing nowadays more than ever before is I used to take notes in whatever little app, right? Like I was on Macs. If I can install my own software on a Mac, I like this thing called IA Writer, just a little Mac app. And all it does is It's one of them focused notepads.
Focused writing
right?
apps.
Yeah. So I like that. I can't use it, you can't install it elsewhere, so I have to use something else on a client thing. But I found myself lately actually writing things down, and just the act of writing down a piece of information now for me, I would show you, but like they've all got client notes on them, so I can't really. Yeah, this just has names. So I've been writing. I've got so many papers, and I just take a stack of printer paper and I put it next to my desk. And at the end of the day, there's just so many things on there, and the act of writing it, somehow it sinks in a little bit better than if I hadn't written it at the time, right?
Yeah.
And
That's how you learned how to learn, right? So when you were going to school, you took notes while you were learning something. You maybe didn't even read the notes afterwards, but
that's true.
putting it on paper brought it
How
in your brain.
How do you think that's going to be different with kids
yeah.
today, online learning? Because my daughter does not have
down.
any notes.
Yeah,
I don't really write stuff down.
I do wonder about that. People are taking notes in OneNote or something like that. I've worked with some people that are incredible note takers. Like I look at what they've worked on for their particular task that they've worked on, and they've got extensive notes, and I'm just like, wow, that is so amazing. I would never be able to do that, nor would I ever want to, because I'm never going to need to recall that much detail about what I just did.
Yeah.
But I capture what I need to know. And a lot of it with code is typing, right? If I'm coding, I'm typing in code, and it brings it pretty central to my brain after a while, right? Like, oh, I know what these methods and these all these things and how they fit together because I've seen them in code, even if I didn't write it, as I'm working through stuff. So
I think like I don't really write anything down. I rarely do. You know, I think I train myself to just remember stuff working in the restaurant. You know, I could take an order for 20 people in my head, steak temperatures, salad dressings, sides, all that stuff. So I would go around I'd just say, I'm going to start here and go around the table. Everybody tell me what you want. And then I'll say it back to you. And they go around and do it all. And then I'd say it back and I'd get it right. And my tip would go up by 50%.
nice.
Sometimes I get applause, but it didn't start out like that. It just became that. Like I learned that over time, and I think that so I kind of have a feel for what I have to do, and I can recall that information when I need it. And so I'm a horrible note taker. When I do take notes, it's awful because I just don't do it, and I'm not inherently organized.
Yeah.
But I'll make lists of things, and I'll put down information that like other people might need, or details about, like if I'm writing up something for a process, I'll write out all the steps. But usually I don't have to like remember. Usually when I'm building it, I just kind of know what to do at that point. But yeah, it's like you train your brain for certain things. Like actors train their brains to memorize lines.
Right.
Musicians can learn and remember like hundreds of songs.
Do you remember watching the BBC Sherlock with
Yes.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Mind Palace.
The Mind Palace. I was just going to go to the Mind Palace. Have you ever done that? Have you ever tried that?
I do that. Yeah, I look at the different parts of my brain where that's stored. But I do like sort through my and think through stuff in my head to recall things.
If you're listening to this and you did not see the video, Kyle, when he said I'm looking at parts of my brain, actually looked up at the sky in
I do that.
directions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered that. I remember watching that a decade ago, 15 years ago, whatever the heck that was. And I tried it for a little bit and it didn't work for me. I couldn't
doesn't work for me either.
Little too abstract. I'm a writer. I tried the what was the kid's name? David Allen, the Getting Things Done thing, where he had a specific
GTD.
notation. Yeah. That worked for a while, but like I need to be I'm much more freeform, and it actually somewhat works for me, I think.
I look for stuff in my house in my head. Like if
Yeah.
I have to remember where I left something, I like walk around my house in my head. And look through drawers and to try to kind of remember where I put something. Like the hammer on the step ladder behind me.
Occasionally you need to have the hammer and it's not put away.
I don't know if my brain is like weird that way, or if it's just something that I learned to do, or if it's just something I imagine I'm doing and I'm really not. I just have to go look anyway. I have no idea.
I think at different times we've all done those kinds of things. Like, oh, I'm trying to remember where I last had my wallet. I'll think about all the places that I can remember where I had it. But
worst feeling in the world is I think I lost my wallet. That's one of the worst feelings. Phone is bad, but like legit, oh my gosh, I think my wallet is gone is one of the worst feelings in the world.
Have you never lost it?
I have. Yeah, once.
It's not so bad. Once, twice.
Like I've had it where I know it's in the house.
Yeah.
But I also had it where I just got home from a trip and left in the cab.
Oh.
And I had to call the cab stand, and the guy said, well, these cab drivers turn in pretty much everything. They're like the top of a lipstick container, they'll turn it in. He said most of them are the most honest people in the world. They will bring full wallets back, full of cash, stuff like that. So I told him, I said, well, if this guy brings my wallet in, I want you to reach in there and pull out a couple 20s and give it to him as a thank you.
Nice.
Kyle,
and he did, and I got it back.
Wow.
For the millennials and younger listening, can you explain what a cab is?
A taxi cab is a vehicle. It's usually a sedan, which is a 4-door car. Or it could be a minivan, which is like some kind of cross hybrid between a van and something smaller than a van. And
it's like an Uber, but they're trying to.
And the credit card
Uber
machine is always broken. So you want to make sure you have cash. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my trick for never losing my wallet anymore is I got one of those things on my phone where you just slide your driver's license, and I have my driver's license and my one credit card that I ever, my debit card. I never use it. I don't use credit cards anymore. So I just have that attached to my phone. But if I lose my phone now, I lose my gourd. I'm like, oh no, like I'm
right.
DOA.
You've made your phone super valuable instead of keeping two smaller value things, right?
Yeah, instead of just being mildly annoyed that I have to go get a new license or cancel my credit cards, or I have to go get a new phone, now it is it's the end of the world. Because who am I going to call to tell them to cancel my credit card? There's so many problems there.
So many problems.
I feel like I just talked myself out of that little solution. So,
but I will tell you this from a brain hack standpoint: coming into the house, going to the same spot every day, back when we actually left the house, bringing those things that you want with you every day, putting them in the same spot.
Yep.
And then leaving from that same spot.
Yeah, when I walk in the door, I empty out all my pockets, and it goes right on the shelving unit next to my door.
Yep.
Or I will bring it into my office, and it'll be sitting on my desk. And there's nowhere else I put car keys or wallets or phones.
No.
Anything like that I have to remember.
If you do, you have to store it in your brain palace and say,
Yeah.
I am putting my car keys in a non-standard location. Remember this
Yeah.
for the next 4 hours.
It's actually, I did a minor brain hack, and I talked about this at the end of last week's podcast, but I did a minor brain hack with my wife when I put out her Hershey's Kisses, pointing in the same way. I did it
Yeah.
for a month. Guess what? It worked. She solved the puzzle. It took her about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to solve it, but she solved it.
Wow.
And I was delighted. That actually that made me think of how, like, this podcast, like how little things like that, you see it the same way every day. And then she noticed, just, and then this morning I woke up and I had rushed down because I heard the Teams thing. I crank up the volume on my laptop so I can hear Teams from wherever in the house. And somebody's trying to ping me this morning at right away. So I rushed downstairs, and then I forgot to go back upstairs, and she texted me from upstairs, and she's like, "Hey, are you mad at me?" I'm like, "No, why?" And she goes, "Well, you put everything out, and the last thing I do before I put everything out is I put the Hershey's Kisses on her little
Right.
coffee pods."
You
She
you
goes,
broke the
now,
chain.
yeah.
I broke it, but
Yeah.
I put her breakfast cereal out first, right? So she noticed when she got her breakfast cereal, I was able to rush upstairs and put the Kisses on the coffee pods before
Ooh.
she had her coffee.
Okay.
So I saved it. I saved my marriage, but it was
Excellent.
a close one. It was a very close one. But now it's weird because now she's like, if you don't do that, are you mad at me? And I got that idea. I hope I'm not taking up too much of the conversation here, but I got this idea. There was a post on Reddit. I'm sorry, Kyle. But there was a post on Reddit. This fella did this thing where he put a paper, young couple, and he would just put a gold star on the fridge every day on this piece of paper. And his girlfriend saw that, and every day she'd see a new gold star next to her name. And no reason, no logic, nothing behind it. Just did it. And then the one day he didn't do it, she got furious with him. Like, he never explained why the gold star was there or anything, but he just didn't do it, and she got livid. And he was talking. He typed out the whole story, and I'm like, holy smokes! So that's when I started doing the coffee thing, and then the Valentine's history.
Yeah, there's some human nature in that where and that kind of leaks over into my sales background, where one of the closing techniques is called the takeaway.
Ooh.
So you got someone looking at something, they're kind of humming and hawing about it and stuff like that. And then you're like, well, why don't you think about it? And I've got another client coming in to look at it this afternoon, but if it's still available after that, I will let you know.
Oh.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, I could lose this. Well, wait a minute now.
It's never mine to begin with.
Yeah. And I'll do that. Like when I would, I did a lot of content.
Laptops now.
I did a lot of content management projects, and one of the tasks was often to lead a group of people through a cleanup of their content. It's one of the toughest things to get people to do.
Right.
Is clean up after themselves. And it's even more difficult when it's a repository that's been there forever, and nobody knows like about half the stuff that's out there. So it's like, who's going to take ownership? So you have to use some of those techniques, like in meetings when you're going through stuff, to get people to engage. Because they're waiting for some other sucker to volunteer so that they don't have to do it, or they just don't want to touch it because they don't know about it. So then you say something like, well, you know what? We'll just trash everything that hasn't been touched in a year. Well, wait a minute now. Yeah,
I'm just going to go touch all the files. I wrote a program.
Yeah. And I've done that deliberately to then get them to grab onto it. Like, then they're engaged. And so sometimes the brain tricks you can use on other people. And
projected brain
it's not necessarily to deceive them and to trick them. A lot of times it's there's just human nature between you and your goal,
Right.
and you need to have some kind of disruption to make that change. Disruption is really a valuable tool.
I agree wholeheartedly. I used that when my daughter used to get shots all the time. I would go into one because you go to the lab, you get, she's sitting in the chair, it smells sterile, and it's a scary thing for a little girl. And so I would use slapstick to make it not so bad. Like I would fall down, and the nurse would be like, "Oh, poke," and then "Oh, that didn't hurt at all," or she wouldn't even notice. She'd be too busy laughing at me because I, fell into a big pile of needles, used needles or something, right? Which is hilarious, obviously, but she was distracted. She didn't realize something was. She was a frog boiling in water, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Distraction, disruption. Sometimes, just making any kind of change, giving people a common enemy is sometimes valuable.
And as a consultant, sometimes being that common enemy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
or being the opposite of that, just being so like, I feel like this is, I'm kind of in this phase where like, my personality now, people get it. They understand, oh, Chad, if he's excited about something, he types the first 5 words of a sentence out in all caps and then the other thing. And then he's got a very specific way of everything, like typing and speaking, like the whole 9 yards. So being either the common enemy or the common goofball, as long as you're not an absolute moron and know what you're talking about and deliver value, having a guy like that, and it doesn't have to be me. I'd be happy if it was somebody else.
Well, sometimes somebody that can diffuse a situation, that can pull focus, diffuse things, get things back on track, can all be helpful. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of shape the culture of the moment.
Holy smokes, that was deep, but appropriate.
Culture of the moment.
The culture of the moment. But that's a great idea of, I mean, that's a great way to phrase exactly kind of what I try to do, semi-intentional. I mean, it's mostly me, but it's also semi-intentional, right? Like the way I type, the way I talk, the way I present, the way all of this happens is it disarms people to a certain degree, gets them comfortable with you to a certain degree, and then you become a lightning rod for various stuff. As long as you're not overtly annoying or aggressive or goofy about it, you become something else, right? And it's
there's another thing you kind of do when you make yourself vulnerable.
I don't know.
When you're the one, people walk in a room, everybody's got their shields up. If you're the one that's, drops your shields,
so glad you said
kind of one thing that kind of can endear people to you, you think is doing them favors, but actually the opposite is true. Asking somebody for a favor, even the smallest little thing, can be an in. Because if you think about the opposite, like if I want to ingratiate you to me, I might give you something, some unsolicited gift to make you like me more. But really it's kind of the opposite of that. Hey, can I borrow a pen? I lost my pen. Like you're showing vulnerability, you're asking them, it gives them a chance to do something good and something to feel good about it. And it gives them a feeling of kind of a little shift in status in a relationship, or they're not worried about that whole status thing anymore because you're humble, you're asking for help. There's just something to that. There's books. That's how I'm gonna end everything. Every sentence is like, there's books. Yeah.
Long story. There's books.
Well, some stuff is like, it's like Munchausen by pen. Yeah. My pen is broke again. Oh man. I'm
Oh,
sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Kyle, are you selling these pens? Why do you need a new pen every day? I don't understand.
It's one of my, because I don't write a lot of things down.
Aha,
I
we've
don't
come full
have,
circle.
I have a hard time finding pens. Yeah. Or having a pen, but it
Uh,
does make you look unprepared. So you got to be careful.
Did you see the so I as developers as software nerds, we're all like we probably all know what XKCD is, right? The
Yes.
stick figure comic that, one of the best one of the better ones that I read in a while was when he was coming up with passwords, right? Like he had the little stick figure and talking about just password strength in general. And he was like, actually, random sequences of characters, numbers, uppercase, lowercase, and special characters is kind of bogus, right? All you need to do is think of 5 objects,
Mhm.
horse, baseball, blah, blah, blah. Picture a horse throwing a baseball at a Toyota in the summer, when it's
Right.
sunny out. That's
Yeah.
your password. Horse ball toy sun, right? Dash,
Yep.
dash, dash between each of them.
My
Great
passwords are all like 20, 25 characters long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's well, I just told you guys.
Let me read them to you. No.
Yeah. I was going to say, I just told you guys my password. It's horse, baseball, Toyota, but I that's another one I really liked.
An
Sorry to
example
divert.
I'll use is like something like I built a shed in clown college. Like I try to make them absurd and funny, and that helps me remember them too.
They're more
Yeah.
enjoyable that way.
Yeah.
Peter,
Don't
what's
use
your
that
password?
now. It's on the list.
What's my password?
Yeah.
I don't really have one password, but I've heard of an app called that recently.
I use that. I love it. I've used that for years.
Yeah.
They changed their pricing model. It infuriated me, but I'm living with it, right?
If they
Things
don't change their
change.
pricing model, they will not exist, and then you'll be even more mad,
That's
right?
just it. Like I think some of the revenue that a lot of these places used to get has kind of dried up a little bit. Maybe ads aren't working so well.
Yeah.
I think we're getting more and more immune to ads. Um,
Oh, I
Oh,
don't
for
even
sure.
notice them anymore.
yeah,
Yeah. Mind
Yeah.
hack.
it's
They
all
don't
just
exist.
noise, right?
Yeah. I bought a lifetime subscription to this app, this 1Password thing for $75, probably like 6 years ago. And it lasted five years. And then before they said, okay, now everybody's got to pay monthly.
Yep.
Like, all right, I get it. I get it. But that is a wonderful little mind hack that these companies do now, these software companies, because they're like, hey man, it's just $1.99 a month. It's $2 a month. You spend more
Right.
on candy bars than you would on this, right? And we are much more useful to you than a Milky Way. That is debatable. Milky Ways are amazing, but I get the idea.
What?
Caramel
That's
and nougat.
debatable. Come on. With
No,
no
that's not up
nuts?
for discussion, Peter.
Come
Mr.
on.
Lawrence, Milky Ways are the pinnacle of candy bars, right?
I always like to take a Three
I know where
Musketeer
to
bar,
get rid of my Milky Way bars.
take a Three Musketeer bar, freeze it, and then chip off all the chocolate and eat
Oh,
all
we
the
got a
chocolate
scientist over
first.
here.
And then you've got and just freebase pure nougat.
Free
You got
base.
total just nougat straight up.
Oh, you guys.
I think we found the title for this episode. Free base
Free
and
base
nougat.
nougat. It's a mind hack.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mind hack.
Yeah. But
What do you do to get into flow state?
flow state?
Do you know
Music.
what flow state is?
Well,
Mr. Brain Hack?
if if it is what I think it is, I can't do that anymore unless I turn off Teams and Slack and everything else.
Yep.
Right. But it is going to be working from home. It is my flow state is probably 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. Right. Like I have to adjust my hour in my role right now. I have to adjust my work day to actually achieve that. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And here's the thing I noticed. So I've been in so many meetings. Last week was 42 meetings. Not
Nice.
even exaggerating a little bit. I started tracking using just little tallies, all of the quick chats and how, if it's 1.5 hours, I'm going to mark it down. And I noticed at the end of every workday, I was mentally exhausted. I was drained and I was a little grumpy, right? Like I presented happily in all these meetings. And I realized the reason why is I didn't get to listen to music at all that day, right? And that is a thing that I have on constantly, and that helps my flow state, to your point, Kyle, right? Like I can't work without music in the background. And more importantly, it has to be music I've never heard before. If it's a
you're
song,
a never herder.
yeah, if it's a song I've heard before, I will start listening to the song in my head, and my brain will start to complete lyrics and complete,
So I can't have lyrics, no lyrics.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
then
yeah.
if I could, I would probably listen to the same 20, 25 songs on repeat and just do that every single day. And eventually I've hacked my brain to where, and I've even pulled out an iPod from like, I don't know, 10 years ago, put on my work playlist, go drop right into the flow state. It's just amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
And then I had the same thing for working out was, okay, I'm about to start on the treadmill. Here's my warm up song. Here's my running song. Here's my walking song. This was, obviously when I was in better or worse shape, depending on if you have a camera or not. But those audio cues just would make, everything would just be like, oh, I don't really feel like running right now. Boom, there's my running song. Hey, look, I guess I'll just start running. And now I'm forgot that I was running for this whole time. And here's my walking song or what have you, that kind of thing. And the same thing at work. Like these are my work songs. I listen to them over and over and they just block out noise and focus.
Yeah.
Really get you right into it.
Yeah, that's that you do your best work, your best productivity happens. You don't have any idea about what time it is,
What day it is, what time
what
it is,
anything.
what
You're not thinking,
COVID it
you're not
is. You
watching the
forgot
clock
all
at
about it.
all.
Yep.
That's like the best way to work. You have days where you're watching the clock all day and that day lasts just forever. You get in a flow state and all of a sudden it's 5:00 and you're done.
Right. Yep.
Like on projects where I have a looming deadline and I have to really kick into high gear, I will spend like 10 hours straight, not break for lunch,
Just go, huh?
just barrel through getting stuff done. Because when you're building, you're building pages and templates and then building everything out. Like just doing those videos today took me about 45 minutes because there's so many different versions of it and stuff.
Yep.
Had no idea that all of a sudden it was like, oh, I got a meeting now. When did that happen?
Right.
Yeah. So I get into it and I go really deep.
The best.
I've always been like that. I've been where I've hyper focused. Like I had a classmate come up behind me in the library and poke me in the back with a pencil and could not get my attention until he pretty much stabbed me.
I was just going to say, this took a violent
turn.
turn.
Something weird. And I'm like, what? He goes, I've been poking you with this pencil in the shoulder for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were just in it, which is the best.
Was totally immersed. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I love when I've had a big day of just pounding out work, just getting tons of stuff done.
At the end of that day, are you exhausted or are you feeling
totally
good?
Exhausted?
Are you really? Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
So
me.
like the 10-day. I think what pulls me out of it is just I'm fried. Because I have to think hard about stuff and make a lot of decisions.
Yep.
with the kind of stuff I do. I'm being creative in a lot of the time. And that takes a lot of energy, to be creative and to get in that state.
I think for me, if I get in that state and if I can actually work on an interesting problem for a long time, you're right. Time dissolves. It speeds up and then goes away. But also at the same time, I just don't stop, right? Because
Yeah.
recognizing, where you are in your career, if you don't get the opportunity to get in that state all that often, if I
Right.
do get a chance to do that, I stay that way.
As long as
And
you can, right?
for as long as I possibly can, until I look at the clock and I'm like, holy smokes, it's 9 p.m. I haven't even had a grain belt yet, and I'm
Wow.
happy as heck. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Wow. Thank you, Peter. And but like, you don't stop. You go until, and then the next morning you're like, okay, that was great. Now back to meetings.
Well, I
And
think,
how do I get that back?
in the early days of programming, you always heard these stories of developers that you had a sleeping bag under their desk, and that, working on these projects where it's just tons of coding they have to do. They would pretty much get into flow state all day, sleep, get back into it,
Yep.
sleep, and be working nonstop for weeks. And I think it even killed some people, just through exhaustion and stuff like that.
I could
I
see
can't
that.
imagine keeping that up for like weeks.
I can't help but get a little envious of developers in the 70s and 80s that were able to write software and not have the distraction of, like, if you were at a computer, all you were doing was writing software.
Right.
There's no alt tabbing between something fun, right?
No.
Right.
There's no phone. You had a desk phone that you could literally just pick up and take off the hook, right? And then you were distraction free.
Right.
And it's no wonder the amount of software that was, how we got from, the 60s, no software, to it being ubiquitous just 20 years later,
Yeah.
right? Like, they were
Right.
able to focus. They were able to do this, right? There was no other call for their time but to produce.
Right.
And that is, yeah, that
Bygone era.
Bygone era. That time has come and gone.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot more helper things, right? A lot more tools.
I think if anything, we've barely kept our heads above water between between libraries, modern practices, frameworks around development, Scrum, Agile, everything else. That has been able to keep us treading water, right? Like, nobody's soaring, right? Nobody's soaring, really. There probably are examples of people doing that, but really, it's kept us on pace and helped mitigate all of the other stuff that goes into modern software development.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's a good note to end on.
Kind of a bummer, but
It's
but also
in
good.
books, right?
It's in books.
Read the
We're doing
book.
better.
All right.
Nougat.
That was the SDG podcast. If you want to reach out to us, drop us an email at thepodcasters@solutiondesign.com. Until next time, say goodbye.
So long, folks.
Goodbye.
See ya.